Hey everybody, Christy from Happy and Healthy TV here tonight with you guys with another pick a vitamin out of a hat video. So today we decided to pick vitamin B3, which is niacin. I've got a lot of funny stories about niacin, so this is a fun vitamin to pick out. And again, in the spirit of going in order, we've been kind of doing that over the past couple of weeks. I've just been going B1, B2 we've done, and now we're up to B3. Why am I doing a big feature on B-complex vitamins right now? Well, I had 8 patients, 8 today, that came back deficient in all B-complex vitamins. So, yeah, you guys need to hear this stuff because a lot of patients, and this is in my 12-year tenure of treating patients, come back deficient in Bs. So, there's a reason for that. If you're on medication, it takes a lot of B-complex vitamins to break down and digest that, so keep that in mind. If you have something called gastroparesis and there's a problem with peristaltic contraction in the intestines, or Crohn's, or colitis, or SIBO, or, again, primary sclerosing cholangitis also, if we see something like that, that will affect, I make that squishy thing with my hands. I'm Italian, I can't help this, I talk with my hands. Anyway, peristaltic contraction is fueled by not only the muscles in your gut, but also B-complex vitamins, so they're really, really important. I worked for a vitamin company in my early career, and my job was to field complaint calls to the FDA. So that was an interesting job, let me tell you. A lot of people tell me some interesting things about their health that I probably could have lived without hearing. We won't get into that. They're a little graphic. But anyway, so what is vitamin B3? Niacin is a really interesting B-complex vitamin. Just like all the other B vitamins, it is water-soluble. But what's interesting about B3 is that it actually helps to lower your cholesterol levels. It's very good at stabilizing blood sugar. So if you have diabetes, taking niacin with chromium picolinate, really good idea. I've gotten people off metformin, which damages your kidneys if you did not know, by taking that. So that's an interesting thing. Although as a nutritionist, I'm not allowed to tell someone to get off medication. So again, I'm just providing nutrition information. You have to consult your doctor regarding things like that. So just a disclaimer on that. Also, what's interesting about niacin is that it supports the genetic processes of your cells. We know about epigenetics, which means our genes are not molded in stone. It doesn't mean that just because your great-grandma had cancer, you're going to wind up with it or something like that. We now know that that's actually not true. Our genetic makeup is changed based on our diet, stress, exercise, toxins, our overall environment. So it's very interesting that niacin plays that role. It also helps your body process and break down fats. So most people think it's just B2 and carnitine that do that. I've talked about that in other videos in our last video, but niacin is also a power player in that role. So fats help us reduce, good fats help reduce inflammation in the body. So go B3 for that, because if you have an inflammatory condition, you're probably low on B3, so you might want to call somebody like myself to get yourself tested. Unfortunately, most doctors don't have access to testing like that, but we nutritionists do, so we're able to look up stuff in that genre. So B3, just to give some history on it, because I was giving a little history on the vitamin I'm talking about, was discovered by the U.S. Public Health Service in the early 1900s. Just a word of advice to everyone, and I talked about this 8 or 10 different times today with patients. The recommended daily allowance, or RDAs, for vitamins were established back in 1930. Yeah, I said 1930. I mean, great that someone figured that out back in 1930, but we do know that the amount of vitamins that are recommended, for lack of a better word there, are really much lower than what the current research has found. For example, vitamin C, the RDA for that is 60 milligrams. That's ridiculous. That's enough to prevent things like rickets and scurvy and stuff like that, which don't exist anymore for the most part. You don't see people winding up with those illnesses because they do get at least those 60 milligrams of vitamin C. But keep in mind the RDAs were never meant to promote optimal health. They were just meant so you don't die. So that doesn't help anything. I have patients that I put on between 3,000 and 5,000 milligrams of vitamin C a day, especially in the wintertime. If you come see me in my practice, I'm throwing vitamin C packets at people when they're sniffling and coughing and things like that. I actually think flu shots are ridiculous. Vitamin C and D can help with that. I don't know why we're talking about those vitamins right now because that's not part of our conversation. So let me not digress. So what are some signs of B3 deficiency? One is a generalized weakness or muscular weakness, so we see that pretty often. So if you're working out constantly, you're still having that problem, you may want to take a look at what's going on there. If you don't have enough B3, a lack of appetite would be of concern. Skin infections are a concern, and of course digestive problems, because without B3, again, peristaltic contraction does not work in the intestines, which means things can get stuck. So a lot of people wind up having issues with going to the bathroom when they don't get enough B3, so that's of concern. Now, if you're supplementing B3, this was a funny phone call I used to get when I worked for a vitamin company. I won't disclose the company, but I would get it all the time. We had a flush-free niacin formula. B3 is a vasodilator, which means it dilates the capillaries. So sometimes if people take too much of this, they'll get a flushing sensation. The whole face will turn red. I've seen people's bodies turn red from this. They do have a flush-free formula that you can get, which is a different form of B3 that is okay to take. If you start flushing from B3, it's not going to kill you. It's not going to hurt you. B3 is water soluble, so it will excrete out of the body. But for some people, it's unpleasant, and they do have that type of reaction. I find that's with lower quality vitamins, to be quite honest with you. I've never seen somebody have a flush reaction. Excuse me, and I do customize vitamins and amino acids for patients all the time with very high levels of B3 in them, depending on the patient's needs. So we customize everything based on that. Another question that comes up, and I know it sounds horrible, but I'll bring it up anyway. Had a lot of people that used to call the company I worked for and say, oh, wow, if I'm doing drugs, will this flush out my system? No, that is the silliest thing I've ever heard of. The flush-free does not mean that it's going to take drugs out of your system. So if you're doing bad things that you're not supposed to be doing, maybe just not do those things or go get some help, because this is not going to get rid of that problem. So that was a funny call that we would get. It's actually not funny. It's actually kind of sad. But people would call in and ask if the flush-free version of niacin would clean their system out of drugs if they had to go for a drug test. Ridiculous. But again, that was my job, to field those calls to the good old FDA. Yay me. What foods are high in B3? So chicken breast, specifically the breast, not per se the dark meat, is actually got a lot of niacin in it. So that's great. Tuna, specifically yellowfin tuna. If you go to your local fish market, you can pick that up. Salmon, Chinook salmon, which comes from Alaska. So wild-caught Alaskan salmon. I was talking to one of my dear friends the other day who's a PA, and we talked about how there is no such thing as wild-caught Atlantic salmon. Guess what, guys? Salmon don't live in the Atlantic Ocean. If anybody's telling you that, they are not researching things. You want a Pacific salmon. So, you know, Alaskan and wild-caught salmon is really the best. Chinook, if you can pick that up, is awesome. A little hard to find, but it's well worth it. Tons of B3 in it. So if you're deficient, that's what you want. The liver of a calf, specifically braised, has got a ton of B3 in it, so I would recommend that. Halibut, which is a great fish to try baked, tons and tons of B3 in it. So you start frying things and doing other stuff, you're going to kill the B3 in there. But if it's baked, you still have a lot. If anybody out there likes lamb, loin of lamb actually has tons of B3 in it. Notice unfortunately, guys, I'm sorry if you're vegetarian, I'm naming a lot of meat and fish and poultry products that have B3 because that's primarily where it is found. You will find it in yellow fruits and vegetables, but just not in as high of amounts. So just to keep that in mind for my vegans and my vegetarians out there who are listening, I don't want to discredit you guys at all because there are quite a few things on here that are more in that genre of, they're, you know, more on the meat-based end of things. Venison, again, we talked about the other night, or caribou meat. So if you like deer, that's good. That has got a ton of B3 in it as well. Turkey breast roasted is really great for high amounts of B3. Cremini mushrooms across the board have tons of B-complex vitamins in them. So mushrooms are great if you want to add those into your diet. Specifically those creminis. I do recommend those too. And last but not least on my list is sardines. If you like Caesar salad dressing, guess what? You're getting sardines in there. Most people don't realize they put anchovy paste and things like that in there. So, which actually's got a salty taste to it. If you've never tried it before, it's really good in soups. And I've made it in different things and kind of hidden it. And nobody knew that they were eating sardines. So that's pretty neat. And it's also a very inexpensive protein to pick up. Again, vegetarian or vegan sources are going to be your yellow fruits and vegetables, essentially. So, all right, guys, we're going to make a wrap on that. That is my information tonight for you about vitamin B3, which is niacin. Again, it is a vasodilator that dilates the capillaries, so I caution patients, unless you're working with a professional who knows what they're doing, do not take extra B3 unless you're instructed to by someone who is well-versed in this type of thing. I've been doing this for a very long time now, over a decade, and have worked with thousands of patients at this point, so I'm very well-versed in knowing the amounts of B3 that you can play with and add in depending on what your body's specific metabolic needs are. So if you have any questions on that, of course, comment below, as I always let you guys know. Subscribe, guys. The more subscribers we get, the more people we can help out. Share this video. We really appreciate that. I just want to spread health far and wide. That is my job, and I enjoy doing that. It's a little bit of a mission for me versus a job. Our number for our practice is 631-835-5003. You can check us out on Facebook. We have a really great page where we entertain and ask questions on there. Our website is currently under construction. So guys, if you don't see happyandhealthywellness.com, don't worry. It will be coming back up eventually, new and improved. We're excited about that change. I'm hoping that comes through by the beginning of the year. So I apologize, guys. Our website is down right now. But you can still email me at Christie@happyandhealthywellness.com if you have a private question that you don't want to post below in the comments. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I hope everybody has a great day, great night, evening, wherever it is you're coming to me from. And I hope you enjoyed a little bit of some information about B3. Everyone take care, and thanks for watching. Mwah. Love you guys. Good night.